Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
We'll discuss the business of LSU athletics when Scott Woodward, Director of Athletics at LSU, joins us when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Louisiana businesses, by partnering with your local community and technical college foundation, you're guaranteed a skilled, highly competent workforce, homegrown talent, trained specifically to meet your needs, whatever those needs are. Visit this website to learn more about how to partner with your local Louisiana Community and Technical College Foundation. To better prepare for tomorrow, become a partner today.
At Optimal, we understand what's at stake during your projects. That's why we value integrity, trust, and expertise. We retain proven and experienced craftsmen, and with multiple locations, we can execute hundreds of customized project solutions across the country, so you stay ahead of schedule and under budget. At Optimal, you come first, plain and simple. We have your back, and we always deliver. Experience the Optimal difference.
Are you a licensed contractor? There's lots of good contractors in Louisiana doing work the right way, but unfortunately, too many unlicensed contractors are working outside the licensing requirements. Working as a contractor in Louisiana requires a license for the company doing the work. The Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors wants to help you get licensed to allow you to conduct work legally. It's not difficult to get the license. We can help you. Go to lacontractor.org for more information. Licensed contractors, it's the law.
For 8 seconds in the arena before an afternoon in the field. For a promise to students that honors success in the classroom. For championships earned on the bayou. For innovators committed to reclaiming our coastline. The Universities of Louisiana. For your future. For our future.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Pleased to be joined by Scott Woodward, the Director of Athletics at LSU. Friend, welcome.
Good to be here, Tim.
Glad you are. It's been a hell of a ride. We're going to get to talk about it all. But I want to start off with this. I think most places that people live, they say that they live in a state. When you live in Louisiana, we say that the state lives in us. And I think that was part of the draw that brought you back from what was a great situation in College Station. Talk about the pull that brought you back to LSU.
Yeah, it was funny. I was giving a speech in Alexandria and just made this wonderful note to the guy that was with me, Rick Perry, the head of TAF. I said, this is really great. I hadn't done this in a while where, the Cajun land transforms into the piney woods, and it is in your blood. My family, many generations ago on my dad's side, living in the piney woods and chasing sawmill to sawmill and doing those things that are part of your soul and who you are. And then, as you well know, I spend a lot of time in South Louisiana in Lafourche Parish doing a lot of fishing, and it is who you are and it's in your soul, and you just can't shake it, and I'm glad of that.
Baton Rouge, sort of born and bred, been here, you've a Louisiana native, and certainly that opportunity to come back here was something that you couldn't pass up. Now, you're approaching, I think, a year now, maybe 10 months or so that you've been on the job, and we were talking before the show, what a ride it has been.
Yeah.
I mean, 15-0 SEC champions, Peach Bowl champions, national champions. What many folks around college football are claiming to be maybe the best season in the history of college football, and I think there's a lot of evidence for that. Quite a way to start your tenure, isn't it?
Yeah, from my standpoint, and definitely not Coach O's or the teams, I'd rather be lucky than good. Walked into a great situation and hopefully added a little value to it and what and how we did things, but these magical things happen, and I told Coach O, we caught some breaks on some injuries and some things that were going on early. That I told him, I said, this is what happens during special seasons. I've been a part of them before. And he smiled and he says, it kind of feels like it. And we knew it fairly early that it could be really something for the ages, as we have come to find out it is.
Well, I follow LSU football closely. I'm proud to tell folks that I've missed 4 home games in 30 years and traveled to a lot of the away games. And if you think about the magical seasons that we've seen in 03, in 07, quite frankly in 11 that maybe didn't end like we wanted to in 19.
Yep.
One of the things, Scott, that marks those teams is great character. These are good kids. They went to class. They worked hard. They kept up with their academics. There weren't a lot of off-the-field issues that we had to deal with, a couple, but not many. I know you've seen that over the course of your time, that you can have great talent and you can have great coaching, but if you don't have great character and chemistry and leadership, maybe you're not as successful as you want to be.
Yeah, it's a testament to Coach O and his staff that they really emphasize that not only as a team, but in the recruiting process, that it really matters, and to have character and quality kids doing that. And, as a side note, just so you know that we're not making this up, I was at a function with our district attorney, Hiller Moore, and he let us know that, hey, the LSU football team had 0 arrests and 0 convictions. And, you expect that, but you're also proud of that with a lot of kids, 100-plus kids. Some things just happened, and they didn't this season. And that's part of what you're talking about, Tim, is that character does matter, and it's a point of emphasis for Coach Ogeron. And
I know that he will continue to do that. Now, one of the things that I know you visited regularly with Coach O, and as an athletic director, your love of the individual sports, you like to be engaged there. You like to go to practice. You like to talk to the coaching staff. And I think that's something that it appears by all indications that Coach O really appreciated, that relationship that you guys had. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's always been important for me to do that, and it's just a stylistic thing, of the way I've always done it. I don't manage from my office. I manage on my feet, and it started off with an emphasis of really spending a lot of time in the training room and some in the weight room with these kids, where they really bare their souls and you can really get to know them and talk to them. And I enjoy doing that, and that's the fun piece, but it's also the instructive piece for me of what's really going on. And then just, I'm not there to coach or critique or talk about X's and O's, but we're there to help support and organizationally and staffing and how we do things and what we do. And I just want Coach to know, and I want those kids to know, that we're there to do it in every way at every moment. And that's the main message that we're trying to send.
If you think about your original time at LSU, your time at Washington, your time at Texas A&M, and now back at LSU, you've worked with some exceptionally high-profile coaches, and kind of done it from behind the scenes in a very effective way. Talk about the personalities of those individuals, but maybe more importantly, the traits that successful coaches at that level share.
Yeah, obviously we know it, and it sounds like a cliche, but just the determination and hard work. It's evident in those folks that they grind, and they grind in a very effective way. You can do it in an ineffective way. We've seen that, here at LSU in the past. Where you work hard, but you work ineffectively. The championship coaches do it right, and they do it in a way that makes sense for their organization. And you see that, whether it's attention to detail, or whether it's being efficient in how they conduct their practices or conduct their meetings and what they do. That's kind of a consensus of it. And there's 2 things in successful coaching, in my opinion, especially in football. Recruiting, and I should say recruiting, but I'm not, but it's obviously coaching. But recruiting and coaching good recruits makes your job a lot easier. As I tell my coaches laughingly, I said, it makes good coaches great and average coaches good when you have talent that's above average.
And you get lots of that at LSU. Let's take a break. I want to come back, and I want to jump into the business of LSU athletics, because it is a critical part of Louisiana's economy. We're visiting with Scott Woodward. He's the LSU Athletics Director, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad, and oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
Louisiana businesses. By partnering with your local community and technical college foundation, you're guaranteed a skilled, highly competent workforce, homegrown talent, trained specifically to meet your needs, whatever those needs are. Visit this website to learn more about how to partner with your local Louisiana Community and Technical College Foundation. To better prepare for tomorrow, become a partner today.
ExxonMobil Baton Rouge keeps the local economy rolling. Our new aviation project created hundreds of jobs, drove millions of dollars to local businesses, and poured thousands more into our community to improve schools. 1 in 8 jobs in our parish can be traced back to ExxonMobil. Tomorrow's Baton Rouge is built by what we do today. A little energy goes a long way. ExxonMobil Baton Rouge. Energy lives here.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Scott Woodward. He's the Director of Athletics at LSU. I want to get into a little bit of the business of LSU athletics, but we were kind of talking during the break about Coach O and about how this whole country seems to have sort of adopted him. He is the epitome of Louisiana. He is a Louisiana guy through and through. And I know how much it meant to folks in this state that he never did a post-game interview when he didn't say something about the great state of Louisiana. That's important to you too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's paramount, and it's who we are and why we do what we do. Everyone thinks that we're doing this for the greater glory of it, and it's not. And I've talked about it a lot. Tim, as you well know, the greatest moments for me are when I see a citizen of the state bring his young daughter or young son, or her young daughter or young son to Tiger Stadium and look up at it, and I can tell it's an aspiration. I want you to be here, and I want you to be part of that.
Right.
It gives me chill bumps, man, and that's what O sees, and that's what O knows that it's about, because there's so much pride and there's so much identity with this, and it's the whole academy. It's not just football, but that's certainly the entranceway in.
I've heard it said that athletics are the front porch of a university, and I know that other universities, Clemson, Alabama, have seen enrollment increases when their athletic teams are doing very well, specifically their football teams. You see that as well, don't you?
No, there's no question about it, and it has a positive effect, especially like you mentioned, when you do it right.
Right.
And it'll pay off for years to come. We're just seeing the beginning of this, whether it's souvenir and ticket sales and everything that we do. That's having a pop, but what you will see for the good of the institution is years to come. Attendance will go up, fundraising will go up, applications will go up. All these things that you can quantitatively measure are in the out years, and we're just looking forward to reaping the benefits of that.
Every leader that comes into a situation wants to put their own stamp on the organization that they inherit. You came into a relatively successful athletic program, but I'm sure that there were things that you found that were going very well, and other things you say maybe there's some room for improvement. Talk about both of those.
Yeah,
Scott.
First of all, I always, you and I have talked about this, and I've made it clear that it's never about me. I manage in a different style. I don't have a very autocratic, top-down style. I'm very collaborative, and I kind of do it that these guys here in production would appreciate. I do it more like an executive producer of a film. Make sure it's on budget, it's on time, and promote and excite everyone about our talent. whether it's Coach O or Joe Burrow or Clyde, Hilaire Edwards, just all these things that do it and make it fun. So I view it from that standpoint. And the beautiful thing about LSU is that it carries on despite people like me, and we just hope not to screw it up. And my motto and everywhere I've been is that I just hope I'll leave the place better than I found it. And that's my hope, and that's my goal when I'm said and done.
One of the things that marks your tenure, I think, everywhere you've been through that style that you talk about is that you have surrounded yourself with very, very smart people.
Yes.
You brought some folks with you from Texas A&M. You kept some of the really talented folks who were here. Talk about, from a leader's perspective, the importance of having very capable people on your team.
It's the only way for success. It's the only way to do it. Hire people smarter than you, better than you, with different ideas that look at things differently and how they do things. And whether it's people from here right in the state or people from the outside, it's always good to have different perspectives.
LSU athletics is a big business. It's an economic engine, certainly in East Baton Rouge Parish, but really all over Louisiana. And I think you could say fairly along the Gulf Coast, $160 million a year enterprise that you are really the CEO of. Talk about the approach, Scott, to the business side of LSU athletics.
Yeah, first of all, and for all my good business friends out there, is that we use a ton of business principles. Obviously we have revenues and expenses, and we have to manage those hard and what and how we do them. But as the overall macro enterprise is that we're kind of a socialist society. I have 3 sports that actually make money or break even, and the rest of them are losers as far as that goes. But there are children, and we have these things, and we have units that we love, and that's what we are, and that's what our mission is. So we get to use a lot of business principles, but not 100%. So I always tell people, I like to stress that point, that it's not as pure as you think, but it's fun. And the things that do generate revenue, we really do stick to hard business principles and try to look at it from that standpoint.
Well, speaking of those business principles, I maybe was going to ask you this a little bit later, but one of the issues, maybe not necessarily for LSU, but for college football, which is really the economic driver of most of these athletic departments, that we've witnessed over the last few years is this issue of declining attendance. You're paying attention to that.
Yeah, very much so. But it's here again, I'm an optimistic guy. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And from a macro standpoint, the sport has never been more popular. More eyeballs are watching it on TV. People are viewing it in different ways and consuming it in different ways. And, frankly, our attendance is going up here. And that's a good thing.
Right.
And so I think there's some...
Helps to be 15-0, though,
It
right?
does. It does. And I think there's some positives to it. But there are also some things that we need to be cognizant of. And that is generations below ours, Tim, that view it and consume it differently. And we have to be, ready to change with that. And it's hard to do. I mean, just... look how hard and difficult it is to get the music right in Tiger Stadium.
Right.
Your people, octogenarians versus millennials. Golly, they want to hear 2 different things. So you try to get that blend, and you try to do it right. We're always trying to upgrade amenities and do things that make the experience fun, and that's where we focus on. But it is something that I do pay close attention to.
Take a break. I want to come back. I want to talk a little bit about academics in the athletic department, and I want to talk about the future, maybe where we're headed with some upgrades to facilities as well. We're visiting with Scott Woodward. He's the Director of Athletics at LSU. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
A lot of my friends were in college and stuff, which is great. It wasn't the route for me, and financially, I know it's tough on a lot of people, so I saw welding. At first, my instinct was like, what pays the most money? So I was like, welding, that's the way to go. It made a great living for me and my family. You can always work your way up. There's multiple ladders, and really the sky's the limit. I thought I got to the max with as high as I can go with welding. As high as you want to grow, you can absolutely achieve it.
Welcome to Southwest Louisiana. 5 parishes working hand in hand to provide economic development, opportunity, and quality of life. $43 billion in projects underway, $65 billion in the pipeline, 18,000 construction workers, and 18,000 permanent jobs. It's all here. Welcome to Opportunity, the Southwest Louisiana Alliance.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Scott Woodward. He's Director of Athletics at LSU. It's a business, and you want to have good coaches and good players, and you want to win games. That's what fans focus on. But the behind the scenes things that you work on and deal with, I believe, are maybe almost as interesting sometime, and maybe should be more. This whole idea of preparing young men and women who are in your care for their futures and their careers. Academics critically important to you, and we have to remember that these young people are student athletes, right? Talk about the importance of academics and maybe some of the things you're doing to ensure that we keep our focus there, Scott.
Yeah, they are student athletes, and that's what people sometimes forget, but for the most part, they're very good about it. And I'm really focusing not only doing what you're supposed to do, but giving them the opportunity to compete at the highest level in the classroom, whether they want to study medicine or do coaching or do whatever they want to do. But, you know, with your audience, Tim, I really want to make a pitch, you know, and that's where I'm focusing on is postgraduate and tell you about our student athletes, because they are no better time managers that work full time doing what they're doing, both with their academics and with their sports, that are trained to be great business, whether they're managers or workers, because they have that skill set of working, grinding early, managing those schedules. So, hey, give our kids a shot, and a lot of them have. We have story after story, as you well know. We have mutual friends that have been there all over the place in business and industry, and we just want people to do and continue to do so, because there's no better employee.
Well, if you think about a case study in time management and academic performance, Skylar Mays on the basketball team. Here's a young man that's in pre-med. He is the star of the basketball team. He's an all-SEC academic performer, likely an all-American academic performer, and he plays at a very high level. He is the poster child of that time management, a guy in pre-med working toward being a doctor.
And we have dozens of them, and they give you inferiority complex. I walk around there, I couldn't have done this. I mean, this is like, exactly. Wow, this is special. And they're out there. I mean, they're just all over the place. And as you well know, they're all over the community. And we could sit here for hours and talk about how they are. But Skylar is a special young man, and we're so proud of what he does and how he represents us.
The business side of this and the engagement of businesses in LSU athletics critically important. You have a partnership with a wonderful organization that's been around a long, long time. The Tiger Athletic Foundation helps fund and direct a lot of the wonderful facilities that we have that are so important to the arms race and competing at a high level. Talk about that organization, Scott, and your relationship, and maybe some of the things in terms of facility upgrades that may be on the table.
Yeah, when I was here, almost 20 years ago, I saw the importance of not only the foundation as an entity, but the people in it. I mean, they're true LSU fans, and people always get confused and think about how the TAF's just a bunch of rich guys that care about sports only. But what I found out in my career in athletics is that people involved in athletics, donors specifically, give 1.5 times more to the academic side than they do to athletics.
Right.
So it's gateway, and it's part of that pride, and it's how we collect ourselves collectively. And TAF's just a very good organization that does that and continues to support us. And I see it as we're one and the same. There's no bifurcation in what we do. We meet, we travel, we do everything for the greater good of LSU and specifically for LSU athletics.
If you think about this, renovations to the Football Operations Center, you think about D.D. Bro's fabulous gymnastics facility, you think about Tiger Park and Skip, the Alex Box Stadium, Skip Bertman Field, you think about the track, upgrades to the PMAC, just these wonderful athletic facilities. Anything specific you can mention in terms of maybe some things that are coming down the road?
Yeah, we're spending some money to plan and do this right with a sports architecture firm. I don't want to call it mega master planning, but it is some strategic master planning and what and how you spend your money. But we definitely have some needs, and one of them is a basketball operations facility for both men and women's basketball. And we're in the process of looking at what that should look like and what the scope should look like, and beginning to raise early money quietly, and then we'll do something very public in the not too distant future.
Anything on Tiger Stadium? I mean, there's been so much renovation that's gone into that facility, and it is the cathedral of college football. Not necessarily upgrades, but just maintenance is an important factor there.
You raise a great point, and as a business people, O&M's critical in what and how we do it, and we're going to really focus on that to keep this cathedral right and to keep it, really special for the games that we play in it. And some place a place I should say that we haven't done our fans well is our audio system, and we're looking at tweaking that and spending some money to get it better. It's difficult because it's an added onto facility. It's not just one unison facility. So we're going to try to do some things really to make the fan experience better there and spend a little money.
As we wrap up here, and we've talked about it through the course of the show, but your message to Louisiana and particularly to Louisiana's business community.
Yeah, is this continue to love this state, and be positive. There's so much great to be here. I was gone 15 years, and, it never leaves you like we talked about earlier, but just love it. Don't ever hate on it or be negative about it, and don't buy into what's wrong here, because there's so much what's great.
Well, I think if you looked at any of the coverage of LSU through its run into the national championship in football, and you just see the adoration that the rest of the country puts on this place because it is different and it is special, I know that folks will pay attention to that. Scott Woodward, appreciate your friendship, appreciate your time, buddy.
Tim, thank you.
Keep up the good work. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.